That night, I wasn't looking for anything scary. I was just driving home. It was around 1:40 a.m. The highway was almost empty. I had the radio turned off. I was tired, and silence felt better than noise. All I could hear was the low hum of the engine and the sound of tires rolling over asphalt. I'd driven this road hundreds of times before. There was nothing creepy about it. Just a long, straight highway, fields on both sides, and the occasional lonely roadside diner. Everything felt completely normal. At least, that's what I thought. I was driving around 70 miles an hour when I rolled the window down slightly. Cool air rushed in, and that's when I felt it for the first time. Nothing moved, no sound, no shadow, just a strange awareness. Like I wasn't alone. I glanced at the passenger seat, empty. I let out a small laugh and told myself, too much night driving. Then I focused back on the road. About 10 minutes later, I noticed a diner ahead. Its lights were still on. I figured a cup of coffee would help clear my head. I pulled over and shut off the engine. As I reached to unbuckle my seatbelt, my eyes drifted to the passenger seat again. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it at first. Just the position of the seat. I was certain I had pushed it all the way back earlier. Now, it was slightly forward, not by much, just enough to notice. My hands froze on the steering wheel. I told myself I probably hadn't paid attention before. I stepped out, went inside, had coffee, exchanged a few casual words with the cashier. Everything felt normal again. When I got back into the car and closed the door, a chill ran through my body because the seat was back again, fully pushed back, as if someone had just adjusted it. I turned on the interior light and checked everywhere. The back seats, the floor, the dashboard. Nothing. I whispered to myself, I'm just tired, and started driving again. Back on the highway, that feeling returned, stronger this time. It felt like someone was sitting very close to me. I checked the rearview mirror. Nothing. I looked at the passenger seat. Still empty. But now, there was something else. The seatbelt. It was slightly pulled out, like someone had tugged on it and let go. My throat went dry. I sped up. I just wanted to get home. That's when I heard it, right near my ear. Breathing. Very soft. Controlled. Like someone trying not to be noticed. I slammed the brakes. The car stopped. The highway was silent. My own breathing was loud in my chest. I checked everything again. Mirrors, back seat, passenger side. Nothing. But there was a pressure on my chest. A weight. As if someone was sitting there. I grabbed my phone to call my mom. No signal. That's when I noticed something in the reflection of the dashboard. And for the first time that night, real fear set in. Because in the reflection, the passenger seat didn't look empty. There was no face, no clear body, just a shape. Like someone was there, but the light couldn't fully reveal it. I turned my head fast. The seat was empty, but now the seatbelt was fully extended. Then I heard a voice, clear, calm, right next to me. Don't stop. My hands locked around the steering wheel. The voice wasn't angry. It wasn't threatening. It sounded normal, almost familiar. Like someone who had already been sitting there for a long time. I didn't respond to the voice. I didn't even breathe for a moment. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my fingers hurt. The highway stretched ahead of me, empty and dark, the yellow lines sliding beneath the headlights. The words stayed in my head. Don't stop. Not shouted, not whispered. Spoken the way someone talks when they're sitting right beside you. I pressed the gas. The car moved again, smooth and steady. And as much as I hated myself for it, I didn't look at the passenger seat. I kept my eyes forward, because somewhere deep down, I was afraid that if I looked, it wouldn't be empty anymore. A few minutes passed. Nothing happened. No breathing, no voice. My heartbeat slowly began to calm down. I started convincing myself that exhaustion had finally crossed into hallucination, that my brain was filling in gaps with fear. That's when I felt it. A shift, not sound, not movement, weight. The car dipped slightly to the right, just for a second. The way it does when someone gets into the passenger seat. I swallowed hard. I could feel it now. The subtle pull of gravity. Something was there. I spoke without thinking. "I'm tired," I said out loud. "I just need to get home." The words sounded small inside the car. For a moment, I thought that was it, that nothing would answer. Then the voice came back. "You shouldn't be driving this late." It sounded concerned. Not cold, not threatening, like advice. Like someone looking out for me. My mouth went dry. "I didn't pick anyone up," I said, my voice shaking, despite my effort to stay calm. I didn't stop. The voice paused. Then, "I know, that was worse." I finally glanced at the passenger seat. It was still empty, but the seatbelt was now pulled across it, buckled into place. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember touching it at all. My chest felt tight. The road ahead narrowed as the highway entered a stretch with no exits. Trees pressed closer to the road on both sides, blocking out the moonlight. The voice spoke again. "People usually stop here." My foot eased off the gas without me realizing it. "Why?" I asked. The answer came immediately. "Because they think they're alone." I felt cold, not from the air, from inside. I shook my head. "This isn't happening," I muttered. The voice didn't argue. Instead, it said something else, something specific. "Your left tail light has been flickering since the diner." My stomach dropped. That was true. I'd noticed it weeks ago. I hadn't told anyone. Ahead, I saw flashing lights, red and blue. A police cruiser was parked on the shoulder, angled slightly toward the road. Relief washed over me. I slowed down. The voice changed. Not angry, urgent. "Don't pull over." "I need help," I said. "No," it replied softly. "You don't." I looked again. The cruiser didn't look right. The lights weren't rotating. They were frozen, stuck in the same pattern. The car itself was old, too old, and there was no officer inside. No silhouette. Nothing. As I drove past, my headlights briefly illuminated the side of the cruiser. There was no department name, no numbers, just scratches along the door. Long scratches, like fingernails. My hands were shaking now. "Who are you?" I asked. The answer came after a long pause. Someone who stopped. The pressure on the seat increased slightly. I could almost feel a presence leaning closer. I thought I heard breathing too. The highway sign ahead appeared suddenly. Exit 17 closed. I'd taken this road my entire life. There was no exit 17. I felt dizzy. "I'm taking the next exit," I said. The voice was calm. "There isn't one." The trees thinned. Ahead, I saw something stopped in the road. A car. Hazard lights blinking. The same frozen pattern as the cruiser. Beside it stood a figure. Still, facing away from me. My foot hovered over the brake. The voice spoke one last time, closer than ever. "If you stop, I won't be alone anymore." I don't know how long I stared at the figure in the road. My foot hovered over the brake. My pulse thudded in my ears. The hazard lights blinked again. On, off, on, off. The same frozen rhythm. The voice beside me didn't speak. It didn't need to. I understood. I eased my foot off the gas. The car slowed. The figure grew clearer in my headlights. It was a man, standing perfectly as still as the road itself. His clothes were dark, soaked in shadow, and his head was tilted slightly downward, like he was looking at the ground. I rolled closer. 10 yards. 5. That's when he lifted his head, and I saw his face. It was my face. Not exactly. Older, hollow. The skin looked stretched, like it didn't quite belong to him anymore. His eyes were open, but unfocused, like he wasn't looking at the road. But through it, my stomach turned. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop. The moment I stopped, the weight vanished. The passenger seat lifted. The pressure on my chest was gone. I sucked in air, gasping. I looked to my right. The seat was empty. The seatbelt hung loose. No shape, no shadow, nothing. I turned back to the road. The man was gone. The stalled car ahead had vanished too. The road was empty, silent. I sat there shaking for a long time. I don't know how long. Minutes, maybe more. Eventually, I forced myself to drive. Slowly, carefully. Every mile felt wrong, like the road was watching me leave. I made it home just before sunrise. I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, replaying everything in my head, trying to tear it apart, trying to explain it. By morning, I'd almost convinced myself it had been a breakdown. Stress, fatigue, hallucination, almost. That afternoon, I took my car to a mechanic. I told him about the flickering tail light. He checked it. Then he looked at me strangely. "The light's fine," he said. "But when did someone mess with your passenger seat belt?" I felt cold. "What do you mean?" He pointed. The belt's twisted inside the frame, like it was pulled hard and fast. I didn't answer. I sold the car a week later. I stopped driving at night. Life went on. Mostly. A few months later, I was scrolling through local news on my phone. A headline caught my eye. "Man killed in late-night highway incident." I shouldn't have clicked it, but I did. The article said a driver had stopped on the highway late at night after reporting hearing noises in his vehicle. No signs of another car. No witnesses. They found him standing in the road. He was struck by oncoming traffic. Time of death, 1:47 a.m., 3 minutes after the time I'd been driving that night. There was a photo, grainy, dark, but clear enough.
That night, I wasn't driving to meet anyone. I was driving to get away. It was 2:12 a.m. My phone battery was at 18%, and the highway was empty. The kind of empty that feels intentional. I had chosen this route on purpose. Less traffic, fewer people, no questions. My headlights cut through the darkness as the white lines on the road passed by, over and over, like something counting time. I wasn't physically tired. I was mentally exhausted. What had happened a few hours earlier kept replaying in my head, and I didn't want distractions. No radio, no music, just silence. Because sometimes silence feels safer. For about 15 minutes, everything felt normal. Then my phone screen lit up. Unknown caller. I ignored it. Reception on this highway was unreliable anyway, and an unknown call at 2 in the morning didn't feel worth answering. I flipped the phone face down. A few seconds later, it buzzed again. Unknown caller. This time, the vibration felt stronger in my hand. Annoyed, I picked it up. "Hello?" Silence. Then a faint voice, distant, thin. "Why haven't you stopped yet?" My foot drifted toward the brake. "Who is this?" I asked. The call disconnected. I checked the screen, no signal. I told myself it was a wrong connection, a glitch. I kept driving. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. Unknown caller. My heartbeat picked up. I answered. Listen, you've got the wrong... You're at the same place I was. My throat tightened. What place? A pause. Then, where the road is straight and there's nothing on either side. I glanced around. That was exactly where I was. How can you see me? I asked. This time the voice sounded closer. I'm not seeing you. I'm remembering. My palms were slick with sweat. Who are you? The call ended. I pressed harder on the gas, and that's when I noticed my phone battery was still at 18%. After multiple calls, it hadn't dropped even 1%. A short distance ahead, I saw a car pulled over on the shoulder. Its hazard lights were flashing. On, off, perfectly steady. My phone lit up again. Unknown caller. I didn't answer. The call switched to speaker on its own, and the same calm voice said, "You see it now, don't you?" My eyes locked onto the parked car, because the driver's seat was empty. No movement, no silhouette, but the voice from my phone was suddenly very close to my ear. I made the same mistake. I didn't slow down, not at first. I passed the car on the shoulder, keeping my eyes locked straight ahead. I told myself not to look too closely, because if I did, my brain would start filling in details that weren't there. But as I passed it, my headlights swept across the inside. The driver's seat was empty. The door was closed. The engine was off. Yet the hazard lights kept blinking. On, off, perfectly calm. The call was still connected. I could hear breathing now. Not heavy, not panicked, just patient. "You said you made a mistake," I finally said. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. "What mistake?" For a moment the line was quiet. Then the voice answered. I stopped to answer the call. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. "What call?" "The same one you're getting." I checked my mirrors. The parked car was already fading into the darkness behind me, but the hazard lights were still visible in the distance. I asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Are you still there?" The voice didn't hesitate. "No." That single word felt heavier than anything else he'd said. The road ahead began to slope slightly downward. Trees closed in on both sides, blocking out whatever moonlight there was. I noticed something strange. My GPS screen was on, but it wasn't updating. The map showed my car frozen in one spot, even though the road was clearly moving beneath me. "Where am I?" I asked. The voice answered calmly. "Where you pulled over." I didn't pull over. Not yet. My phone buzzed again. Another call. Unknown caller. At the same time, same number, same screen. I stared at it. 2 calls, 1 phone. The first voice spoke again. That's the moment. What moment? When I answered myself. My chest tightened. "You're saying you called yourself?" The voice didn't correct me. I heard my own breathing before I realized what it was. I felt cold. The road sign ahead appeared suddenly in my headlights. "No service next 25 miles. I swallowed. "That doesn't make sense," I said. "There's always at least..." That sign wasn't there for me either. The call crackled. The voice dropped lower. I thought if I could warn someone, it wouldn't happen again. Warn them about what? The answer came slowly. Stopping when you're not alone. My headlights caught movement ahead. Another car. This one was stopped in the road itself, not the shoulder, right in the lane. Its hazard lights blinked in the same steady rhythm. On, off, off. My stomach sank. "I didn't stop in the road," I said. The voice sounded tired now. Neither did I. I could see the driver's door was open. No one inside, no one around. Just a car, waiting. Why me? I asked. Why is this happening to me? The voice was quiet. Because you answered. My phone vibrated. I didn't hang up. I couldn't. My phone was pressed against my ear, and from the speaker came my own breathing. Uneven, nervous, real. Hello? Can you hear me? That voice was me. Not a recording, not an echo. It reacted when I reacted, paused when I paused. I felt my hands shaking. Where are you? I asked. There was a delay. Then, I'm on the highway, my voice said. I pulled over. There's a car ahead with its hazards on. My chest tightened. That was exactly what I was seeing. The first voice, the calm one, spoke again. That's when it starts to overlap. What starts? I whispered. The moment you become the call. The stopped car ahead was closer now. Its hazard lights blinked with mechanical patience. On, off, on, off. Standing near the open driver's door was a figure. Still, facing the road, waiting. My voice on the phone spoke again. I think someone else is here. I felt sick. Don't stop, I said out loud. I'm telling you, don't stop. There was confusion in my own voice. I already did. The figure by the car moved, just slightly. Enough to let my headlights catch its face, and I knew before I really saw it, it was me. Not exactly as I am now. Paler, eyes hollow, like someone who hadn't slept or breathed in a long time. The calm voice spoke one last time. When you stopped, you tried to understand it. When I stopped, I tried to warn someone. What happens now? I asked. The answer was quiet. Someone has to stay. My phone buzzed again. The battery dropped for the first time. 17%. Then 16%. My voice on the line started breathing faster. I hear something, it said. I think it's coming from the road. I watched the figure turn its head, slowly, toward me. I slammed my foot on the gas. The engine roared. The car lunged forward. As I passed the stopped vehicle, my headlights swept across the inside. The driver's seat was empty. No blood, no damage, just a phone lying on the seat, lit up, calling. Behind me, the signal cut out. The call dropped. The road straightened. The trees thinned. The world felt normal again. Too normal. I didn't stop driving until the sun came up. At home, I sat in my car for a long time before going inside. My phone was dead. Later that day, curiosity got the better of me. I searched local news. There was a small article buried deep. Unidentified man found dead on highway shoulder. Time of death, 2:14 a.m. Cause, exposure, and shock. Authorities noted something unusual. The man's phone was found powered on, battery at 18%, mid-call. I don't answer unknown numbers anymore, especially at night. And if my phone ever rings while I'm driving on an empty highway, I let it ring. Because now I understand. The call doesn't come from the network. It comes from the road. And once you answer it long enough, you don't need a signal anymore. I usually avoid driving at night. But that night, I didn't have a choice. It was 1:58 a.m. The rain had just stopped, and the highway looked freshly washed, reflecting my headlights like a long, empty mirror. Everything in the car felt normal. The radio was off, my phone rested on the dashboard, the back seat was empty. I was alone, completely. After about 20 minutes of driving, I realized I kept checking the rearview mirror, not because I saw something, but because I felt like I should. I told myself it was just fatigue and focused back on the road. A few seconds later, I heard a soft sound behind me, like someone shifting their weight on a seat. The car dipped slightly. I didn't slam the brakes. I kept my eyes forward. Then I checked the mirror. The back seat was empty. I took a deep breath and told myself, uneven road. But then I noticed something else. Behind my shoulders, warm air. Breathing. Very close. I snapped my eyes back to the mirror. Nothing. But now the rear headrest was tilted slightly forward. I knew I hadn't touched it, not once. I pressed harder on the gas. The rain started again. The wipers moved back and forth, their rhythm feeling less like motion and more like counting. 1, 2, 3. Then a voice came from behind me. Calm. Clear. Why do you keep checking the mirror? My hands locked around the steering wheel. It didn't sound angry. It didn't whisper. It sounded normal, like someone sitting in the back seat making conversation. Who's there? I asked. No answer. Instead, something else happened. The rear seatbelt began to slide out, slowly, on its own. I hit the brakes. The car stopped. The highway was silent. I turned slightly, about to look back, when the voice spoke again. Don't. Cold rushed through my body. I faced forward. The road was straight, no cars, no lights. But in the rearview mirror, something had changed. There was a dark shape on the back seat. No face, no clear form, just the undeniable sense that someone was sitting there. My phone screen lit up. Missed call, 1. No name, no number. Just one detail that made my stomach drop. The call time read 1:58 a.m., the exact moment I started driving. The voice behind me spoke softly. You know, I made the same mistake. I didn't turn around, even though every instinct in my body was screaming at me to. My eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead, but the mirror kept pulling my attention back. That dark shape sitting quietly in the back seat, not moving, not breathing, just present. You said you made the same mistake, I finally said. My voice sounded tight. What mistake? For a moment, the car was silent, except for the soft tick of the engine cooling. Then the voice answered. I checked the mirror too much. I swallowed. That's it? The shape shifted slightly. The car dipped again, just a little. I wanted to be sure I was alone. The rain picked up, tapping against the roof in uneven bursts. The highway stretched endlessly ahead. No exits, no signs. I noticed something strange. The sound of the rain was louder inside the car than outside, like it was closer to me, from behind. How long have you been there? I asked. The voice didn't respond right away. Since you stopped the first time. I never stopped, I said. Another pause. You slowed down. My grip tightened. That's not the same thing. It was for me. I felt a sudden pressure on the back of my seat. Not hands, not fingers. Just weight, like someone leaning forward, curious. You remember that stretch of road, the voice said. The one with no lights? My stomach turned. Yes, that's where I pulled over. The headlights caught a road sign ahead. The letters were faded, barely readable. Rest area 1 mile. I had driven this highway for years. There had never been a rest area here. I'm not stopping, I said. The voice didn't argue. Neither did I. My phone vibrated on the dashboard. I hadn't touched it. The screen lit up. Incoming call. No name, no number. I didn't answer. The vibration stopped. Then it started again. Harder this time. The voice behind me grew closer. That's when it happens. When what happens? I asked. When you hear yourself. Before I could respond, the call connected on its own. The speaker turned on, and from my phone came a familiar sound. My breathing. Uneven. Shaky. Exactly how I sounded right now. Then my own voice spoke. Hello? My chest tightened. That's not possible, I whispered. The voice in the back seat replied calmly. That's what I said too. Ahead, the rest area came into view. One dim light, an empty parking lot. No building, no cars, just space to pull over. The voice on the phone sounded confused. I think someone's in my car. I felt cold all over. Don't stop, I said out loud. I'm telling you, don't stop. There was a long silence. Then my voice on the phone said, I already did. The dark shape behind me leaned closer, so close that the mirror no longer showed it fully. Only shadow, only absence. You should keep driving, the voice said. If you stop, I won't be alone anymore. I didn't pull into the rest area. I don't know why. I just didn't. My foot stayed on the gas as a dim light passed on my right, the empty lot sliding out of view like it had never been there at all. The call on my phone went silent. No breathing, no voice, just a dead line. For a few seconds, I thought it was over. Then the weight behind me shifted. Not forward this time. Back, like someone settling in. Comfortable. You chose differently, the voice said. It sounded calmer than before, relieved. Who are you? I asked, my throat tight. What do you want from me? The answer came slowly. I wanted someone to notice me without taking my place. The road ahead began to change. The lane markings faded. The trees leaned closer. My GPS flickered, then shut off completely. I wasn't lost. I was no longer on the map. The voice continued. When I stopped here, I thought I just needed rest. I looked in the mirror one last time, and that's when I realized the seat wasn't empty anymore. My hands shook. You died, I said. A pause. No, the voice replied. I stayed. My phone suddenly lit up again. Incoming call. This time, there was a name. My name. I didn't answer. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat. The call connected anyway. From the speaker came my own voice. Calm, steady, wrong. You can stop now. The shape behind me leaned forward. The mirror went dark. I pressed the accelerator to the floor. The engine screamed. The car surged ahead, and suddenly the road straightened. The trees pulled back. Street lights appeared, one by one. The world snapped back into place. The pressure vanished. The warmth behind me disappeared. The back seat was empty. No shadow, no weight. Just fabric and silence. I didn't slow down until I reached the city. I parked under bright lights, left the engine running, and sat there shaking until the sun came up. Later that day, I checked my phone. No missed calls, no call history, no record of anything from that night. Except one thing. A voicemail. Timestamped 1:58 a.m. The audio was only 3 seconds long. Just breathing. Then a whisper. Thank you for not stopping. I don't drive at night anymore. Not because I'm afraid of being followed, but because I'm afraid of being replaced. And sometimes, when I'm sitting still at a red light and the car gently dips in the back, I don't check the mirror, because now I know the truth. Some roads don't take your life. They just ask you to stay.